What was your favorite race this weekend?
I'd say the Xfinity race. O'Reilly race.
Did you watch the O'Reilly race?
Actually, you know what? It was the NASCAR Mexico Truck Series.
Yeah, finished.
Race.
That was actually sweet.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
Honestly, you could not have predicted the winner.
We should play that. We should put that up. Josh, do you have that?
Okay, this is my first time watching this, so.
Oh, this is so good. So,
Josh, yeah, just enjoy.
Yeah, just
I like the single
already.
Single file restarts is already pretty goated. That's like throwback right there.
Well, they weren't single file, were they?
They had a couple on the outside that
okay.
There were like 3 cars on the outside. Everybody else was single.
Yeah,
file.
so here
oh my god,
we get 3 wide.
Yeah,
and we keep it up for 2 corners.
Oh, this is phenomenal.
It's a white flag in the air.
Where is this?
The greatest place ever.
Oh,
their version of Martinsville, but better.
Oh my god,
they stay 3 wide,
dude.
But the best is here down to the 3 and 4.
All right.
So we hit. He's trying to clear himself. He doesn't come on the inside.
This is totally Martinsville.
You still don't know who's going to win. You still have no idea who's going to win.
No.
The 5th place guy won.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, what?
I don't think, is there one where somebody came from deeper than when James Buescher won Daytona in the Nationwide Series?
That's like the deepest one, I think.
Is this what we're doing to replace the boring race weekend?
We
have a boring show.
There's no
At
problem
some point,
with
I don't know where in the show this will go, but you should put it in, Josh.
Oh
no.
no.
Here we go.
Oh no.
We're all wrecked.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Look at there he goes. There he goes on the bottom. They all just almost gets clipped and wins. It's the greatest thing ever. You know what the best part about that is? There's about 4 or 5 drivers in the midst of that wreck who saw not a single car in front of them for a moment and thought, I've got this. At least 3 or 4 who if you've been in that moment and in those cars that came through there and was like, oh yeah, oh, I got it. Oh.
How many times have you had that feeling just getting through the wreck, let alone?
Well, the famous wreck the next year where Larson goes in the fence. I remember seeing him go up in the fence, and then as he goes up, suddenly my windshield just gets covered in oil and fluids and everything. And I'm at the bottom 3 wide, but I can't see anyone in front of me. So when we crossed the line, my first question was, did we win? Because I'm like, I'm pretty sure we just won. And then I'm on the cooldown lap, and I kind of could see ahead of me another car. I think whoever it was, maybe it was Regan Smith, or I can't remember who it was in front of me, who won. And so there I am down there. Another car goes in front of me, but I couldn't see anything.
Which one are you?
Keep going. Go a little further. Right. Stop. So I couldn't even see this guy in front of me. I'm that black car beside the red car.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. I couldn't even see this guy coming up in front of me. I think it's Bowman coming up in front of me. So, as I crossed the line, there's no one there.
Oh, that's funny.
So there I was going by in the black car. So I'm thinking, I got this. It was mine. And then, no. Oh, God. Racing. All right, let's do this. I don't know. I think this could be a shorter one, which is totally fine. I'm okay with that. So,
we're already 10 minutes into it.
I guess
depending on how this show has got edited,
we'll just somehow input that stuff in there. I think it's a good idea, actually.
Just make it the cold opener. Just 10-minute cold opener, us watching highlights.
Well, it's going to be on you. I don't know what you're going to do. So good luck. Welcome to the Money Lap. I kind of look up mid-taco bite. You don't know disappointment. Talking all things motorsports by 2 real drivers.
I appreciate being called a gritty driver.
With many, many years of experience.
We've had to do that other people didn't want to do.
The most dedicated host in the motorsports podcast world.
Weren't we supposed to have somebody come on our show as a guest?
No, we did it.
Did we?
Yes.
Yes, for our 1-year anniversary.
And we definitely know what we're doing. Remember, talk through your mic.
I'm talking past it like this.
Well, if you just pointed it differently. Never mind.
Oh,
Never mind. Let's talk about race cars. God's sakes.
This is our worst show ever. Hello, welcome. I'm Parker Kligerman, joined as always by my good buddy, Landon Cassill. This is the Money Lap, our show about all things motorsports. On today, it is Monday, March 16th, 2026. We're recording not on our normal Wednesday, just due to some scheduling stuff. So this is one of those shows that ends up being more of a reaction, but we're going to dive into a lot of the racing that happened this weekend. We've got Cup and O'Reilly Series from Las Vegas, IndyCar, the first ever Arlington GP, which was a really cool track. Formula One was in China with a sprint race and a Grand Prix. So we'll dive into some of that. And maybe some other little topics here and there around the motorsports world. This should be fun, Landon. We don't do these reaction shows.
I was told there wasn't much racing this weekend.
Well, there was a lot of racing. It just wasn't a lot of topics to dive into.
There was a lot of races, not a lot of racing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That is a good way to put it. It seemed like I watched every single race of those series this weekend, including the F1 Sprint, including the F1 Grand Prix. I watched the IndyCar race. I watched the pre-race for IndyCar. I obviously watched the O'Reilly race because I was on the broadcast. I watched the Cup race. Every single one had the makings of a potential great race, but almost every single one fell a little flat. It's just one of those weekends, you know? So if I were to sum it up, in F1, you had the normal Ferrari versus Mercedes that we're seeing in 2026 in the first few laps, where the Ferraris are really good off the line. This was both in the sprint and the Grand Prix. They're really good off the line. There's a bit of tussling for a couple laps, and then the Mercedes is clearly way faster and vaults away from the field, and it's all over. In IndyCar, it actually was a compelling, probably the most compelling race, I would say. One, the track was awesome. The track design they had down there with that street course was really cool. Awesome straightaway with insane bumps and such. So I thought they did a really good job with that event and did a great job making it feel really big and cool. And I don't know, I just felt like overall that was a really good vibe for IndyCar. And it became a battle between Kirkwood and Palou. The battle kind of was complete with 10 to go, 11 to go. So it was like if it happened with 3 to go, you'd have been like, damn, that was a good race, right? And then they had a late race restart, but it got mitigated really quickly because they threw a caution on the final lap, and Kirkwood won. He would have won easily, I think, anyway, but he was clearly faster than Palou. So that one fell a little flat, and then the O'Reilly Series, we had a lot of players at the front, some great racing throughout. It was obviously a hot, slick day. Even Larson was struggling. The Cup guys weren't just dominating. And then you got down to a late race restart. Larson somehow gets the lead, and it was all over. And then in the Cup race, it was like there was a little bit of comers and goers really between Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing versus Hendrick in some respects. That was pretty compelling for most of the race. And then it got down to the last stage. Denny gets the lead. He seems to be clearly faster. And then at the end, Chase Elliott started gaining on him super quickly, but just ran out of time. So it was like every race had the makings of one of those races. It would be like, damn, that was a good race. But none of them went all the way through to give us that dopamine high of damn, what did I just watch?
Do you think if Chase Elliott could have locked himself into the chase with a win, that you would have maybe tried a little bit harder and put on a show for the fans, the entertainment?
Yeah, it was points racing. He was just points racing.
It was with a few laps ago, he was like, you know what? I think second's going to be a good day. We need a good top 5.
No, where he got burnt it just wasn't much of a top lane that was effectively working, and he was having to wrap the bottom. And once he got to Aero affected range of the 11, he was toast. And there was a little bit of traffic that didn't play out perfectly for him, so that hurt him. But I think he was trying, but he couldn't quite pull it off. So if we go into the Cup race, there was one moment right off the bat, by the way, that was probably one of the driving highlights of the weekend. And that was Shane Van Gisbergen, lap 1, off of turn 4, gets wildly sideways, bouncing off another car, and gets so sideways that he actually then hits the right rear of someone else, gets turned to be corrected, and saves it. It was one of the most beautiful, like, driving moments I've seen in a while.
I find issue with that.
Why is that?
It was lap 1.
Well, no, it definitely was not the time to be doing that.
I struggle with great saves like that.
All right. You play steel man my argument here. Go
Well,
ahead.
I don't know. I just like great save, I guess. Like, what were you doing? I mean, it's like if that was 5 laps to go for second, you could be like, damn, look at him wheeling it. It's like, cool. Good job, man. Way to not end your day on lap 1.
All right. To your point, it is a really good point.
Like,
I looked at it as like, I guess if you look from the frame of it was inevitable that he'd end up there, but if you do look, he's 3 wide. The Eric Jones is coming down, and he bounces off of him, and I mean, probably just like, hey, he shouldn't be 3 wide on lap 1. That's the way to look at it. And committed to the throttle with the dirty air there, Suarez, all those things.
Yeah, that's less of a like cheering from the pit box, great save, and more of a Jesus Christ.
Oh man, good point. Well, if we consider it a save, it was the best of the weekend, but maybe it was a should never have been. So it didn't really turn out for him anyway because he was not very competitive through the race. And this is where I wanted to go with the Cup race. So one of the things that stuck out to me, because obviously we can talk about all the little racing incidents, but one of the bigger things that I don't know get discussed this week, but it definitely was evident to me as I watched that race and this weekend unfold. I think the non-Hendrick Chevys did not get the Aero map update for the new body from Chevy. In the first major Aero race of the year, at one point I looked up and it was all the Hendrick Chevys, basically, minus Allgaier, who had sped on pit road. As the race unfolded, you had all the Hendrick Chevys in the top 10 to top 5 fighting for the win. And then the next non-Hendrick Chevy was outside the top 15. And some were doing abysmally. And if you saw Carson Ostervar, who was really upset after practice and qualifying with how bad his car was handling and how bad it, compared to the sim, I don't know. I'm just saying something was missing for the rest of the Chevys that the Hendrick guys had. And we know there's a new body. And we know Hendrick has the technical center on their property, and they're closely aligned with Chevy. I might be reading too much into it, but I'm just saying.
I do find that funny sometimes, where it's just like with all the team Chevy, or not just, I'm not just picking on Chevy, right? All the manufacturer alliances and one team, one dream, rah, sharing information, right? Because those guys, to give everybody some context, those guys share setups, starting setups. Like all the Chevy teams have to turn in their starting setups and all that stuff. Like they can see the other team's setups, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
Allegedly.
Put some quotes on there.
So, these OEMs have made some big efforts over the last few years to really centralize all of that information. But at the end of the day, it is a competition.
So I'm going to say something that they won't tell you because I'm not affiliated with anyone and I don't care. So when I was obviously affiliated with RCR, I did a little bit of testing for the sim group on the Cup side. And one of the things I learned was that in that whole sharing setup, sharing sim, all those things, they often ran into a issue where if you put the 5-car setup in, it was undrivable. Supposed to be the same model, same everything, same tires, model, everything. But they would have serious compatibility issues with some of the Hendrick setups that it would get over that were supposedly exactly what they're running.
Interesting.
I'm not saying maybe it was a miscalculated error of inputting the numbers, whatever. I'm not making accusations, but I did see this go down. So I'm just saying.
Which would suggest potentially that there's a completely different model working that setup.
Yes. Or there's some tomfoolery, of course, within.
Or the setup was not the setup.
Or there's, all sorts of things. Now, obviously, Chevy and these teams, they try to control this as close as they can to make it as legit as possible. But you have to ask the question, as you put it, it is a competition. If you're one of the organizations, it is in your best interest not to potentially share things you think that are invaluable / your IP. So,
well, when you think too, like, Hendrick still their golden record of what goes in that car is still on their own operating system, right? So what we mean by like sharing a setup, they're sharing it to the Chevy database, right? They're all some shared Dropbox type. Just imagine it being a shared Dropbox. It's not. I'm not saying it's on Dropbox, but imagine they're sharing these files to their own shared this whatever common platform. But their own setups are still behind their own systems. So who knows what's actually going in the car? I mean, over my time at driving for all these teams, like that's where you get a lot of those eye rolls. Is you'd be like, well, what's that team running? Well, I can tell you what the shared file says that they're running, but do I actually know if that's what's in their car or not? No.
Yeah, exactly. It's racing. They take everything with a grain of salt, and especially when it's a zero-sum game in which there's one winner and everyone else is a loser. So, as long as the incentive is to win and beat everyone else, it is not always going to be an open book like that. It's just the nature of the game, to your point. And I don't blame, like, if you are Hendrick Motorsports, you absolutely should play that game. Like, that is your reason for existing. So that's just the nature of competition. And if you're RCR and you hit it one weekend, or your Trackhouse and you're way better, try and keep it to yourself if you can. Like, and it's the same thing, drivers. I don't know if you ever had these questions of people always being like, how do you work with your teammates? And I always thought there's like a couple types of drivers. One is the open book. I'll give you everything and I'm just going to beat you. The other is the person who might tell you legit info, but you have to ask, and you got to ask the right questions, right? Mm-hmm. And the third one might be someone who just chooses not to share anything as a teammate, right? And with this new era of the data being very exposed as it is now, and you can basically see everyone's inputs and that sort of thing, that's probably not as consistent, but I still think, that is the human nature behind being a teammate. And it's, so that flows from the driver's side as well when you're working.
Well, and one thing that's interesting with that is, and I feel like we haven't talked as much about it in the last year as we did 2 or 3 years ago, but these driver training and driver development programs, like for instance, Josh Wise's program with Chevrolet, how has that been progressing along? I mean, it seems like the continuity among Chevy drivers was definitely improved as that program developed, but I don't see, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later, the Chastain and Suarez clashing post-race. Like, those are all guys that work out together and train together. And is that continuity not there anymore? Is it a different dynamic now than it was 2 or 3 years ago? That's something you and I talked about, right? Like, I kind of predicted that at some point these teams, especially with many resources they have now, they're grateful for a program like Chevrolet to, create this like foundation for developing their drivers. But at some point, I don't think Hendrick necessarily wants Kyle Larson to be training with Austin Dillon, right? Or Kyle Busch or those guys, right? Why would they want Kyle Larson to be giving away, letting those guys in on how he drives and his style and his preparation, right? So has there been some kind of evolution in that?
Not that I know off the top of my head specifically. I think it's only human nature that eventually these programs would become more in-house. And I think you have seen a bit of that with, whether it's from a person, like a driver's perspective of trying to have their own coach sort of thing, right? And trying to keep that more closely.
More drivers doing that?
I've heard of some of these happening for sure. Yes. So, or within the team, they have specific people assigned to a driver that's kind of like their driver coach. So that's definitely a trend that's happening. And I just heard one the other day that I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but it's evading me. But it was an interesting one. So yeah, I do think that's happening 100%. And I think on the manufacturer side it's happened, but I do think in the cup level it's becoming even more singular, where you might have your coach who looks at data, thinks about all the things from the driver's perspective, helps you conceptualize what you're fighting to be able to relay to your engineers and crew chief in a better way, and all those things. So I think that is absolutely happening, because just like the teams, that's your IP as a driver. And if you start to really unlock some things, especially in this era of open data and the cars being all but the same, that you have that for 3 months over others and they can't figure it out, like that's an advantage.
Right.
So you should do that, right? You should keep that. To that point, before we dive into the clash between Chastain and Suarez, like think about Denny Hamlin. This guy is the top of his damn game right now. And even in his interview, 61 wins, he said, I'm not this talented as all the guys on this list. He just, vaulted to being 10th all time. He got away from being tied with Kevin Harvick. But he's like, I still work really hard. And you got to think a guy like that, like he's got tons of secrets that are his and his alone. And that's his thing. And that's what makes him so good. So
half the field drives Darlington a certain way now because of what SMT data provided to, show insight into how Denny Hamlin drives Darlington. I mean, that's why Kyle Larson drives Darlington the way he drives Darlington.
Yeah,
because of Denny Hamlin. Because of Denny Hamlin.
Yep. Yeah. So that's a guy who's worked really hard and has this notebook that's sort of his thing. And, I just think it's a template for the younger group that maybe is in those larger programs to eventually think about flying the coop and saying, how do I do this on my own? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Protect
Speaking
himself.
of, not to hijack the topics, but if
please go ahead.
Denny, and we said that the season points, the chase format is actually lends in his favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's him getting a win this early and showing that's kind of playing out, kind of going in the direction. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Oh, I think this is fallen into his hands in many respects. Every year we say it's his year to lose, basically. Last year it came within just a couple laps and a restart that he hasn't won. He basically did on the predetermined length of the race. He did win the championship. So I think with this, taking out all those variables, that is a one race winner take all. Absolutely. And being a game of consistency and ability across all track types, how could you not think he's a favorite for the championship this year, considering they have the same pace they've had,
Right. But just getting a win that early, and he's got 3 top 10s. He's showing that same form that normally has won him the regular season and put him in position to always be the favorite. But this year it'll be a little bit different. It'll actually carry through for a little bit longer for him.
That's a good point.
Not be under the pressure of that, single win to win the championship.
It's got to be his year. It all culminates to finally happen. His biggest problem might be his own damn team, to be honest.
No kidding.
When you look at it, so the Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace have had their best starts to a season ever in terms of average finish, of course, and they're both 1-2 in standings. His biggest competition is his own damn team. Would it not be poetic? Shout out to our one listener, Danny Hamlin, by the way. For him to, in this format, once again get so damn close, and who's it takes it away from him but his own damn race team.
Oh God.
I can't even. I'm sorry I wrote that. I'm sorry I put that out there, Denny. I'm sorry. But that would be just typical.
That would, of all, like, just add that to the list of 1,000 ways Denny Hamlin can lose a championship.
Poor guy. Let's talk about it real quick. Ross Chastain, and Daniel Suarez had a little altercation on pit road after the race. Former teammates who were frustrated with each other. There was a bit of barging into each other on the cooldown lap. Suarez has had a couple run-ins with Trackhouse drivers over the first few races of this season. And, you got to think naturally he's probably a little bit upset with, it's not fun when you've been removed from any situation, especially a team that felt like that was going to be his landing place for a long period of time, considering he was the first driver there. He's won there. It basically felt like his home, and he got kicked aside. So maybe a little animosity there, but then that boiled over into pit road and them two shouting at each other and a little bit of pushing. Some of this, I think, is we talked about the Chevys not running well. Neither of them was running particularly amazing. I think Suarez was actually probably a little bit better than Chastain through most of this race. So there's always frustration when you're in that mid-pack. I heard Harvick talk about it the last couple of weeks where he talks about the mid-pack, and he's like, that's hell. Like, that's the worst place. Your car's not handling well. You're frustrated, angry, and everyone races the living out of you. And, that's normally where we see some of these altercations. But it seems like some people tried to extrapolate what they were saying from each other and some of the audio, and basically it was, pretty derogatory towards each other. And Suarez, quote afterwards, said basically he felt like Ross has been a bit two-faced to him, and maybe this is the way they actually felt. I don't know. Where would you like to go with this? What's your thoughts?
Probably is all the things they didn't want to say to each other for several years. Finally saying. That's usually how that goes, isn't it?
100%. Because these teammate relationships can often be almost like forced marriages. There's not always, at the end of the day, they are your competitor. So you don't have, you don't always have to be singing Kumbaya together. And I think that's actually very rare compared to most teammate relationships, which are friendly or cordial would be the term, but not really best friends situation. And I think when you're given the liberty to not be stuck in that space where you have to be politically correct, it can let some true feelings come out. But I think could be said, not to pinpoint these two, I think that would be 95% of the drivers in the series if they could speak openly about something that they frustrate about their teammates, especially if they're raced by them in a certain way. They would have a pretty derogatory statement towards that driver, because at the end of the day, it's a competition. And if you feel like wronged in a respect, if you're given the liberty to be able to say it, you might put it out there.
Not to say that, teammate rivalries are unique to NASCAR, but do you think that stuff bubbling out to the public the way it does in NASCAR is a little bit unique to NASCAR compared to other sports? Because it's like this, what am I trying to say? Sort of single athlete sport. NASCAR is a team sport. Of course, NASCAR is a team sport, but like, driver versus driver, but then they're teammates. So then it's just when you have that, like when the teammate moves to another team, then they have conflict. You can tell that there's like this historical tension that is bubbling over. You just don't see that in other sports, right? No. Like you don't see two quarterbacks, a quarterback that left another team. He was the backup quarterback. They were probably competed over each other's jobs. They probably stood on the sideline and watched the other one, rooted for the other one to fail. Imagine, I'm sure all those things happen, but then you don't necessarily see the one quarterback leave and go to another team and there just be like this continuing tension to the point that we see it as fans.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, just like they say in F1, I think it's even it's become an even more common thing in NASCAR when you've gone to the next gen, which is that your teammate is actually your number one competition, right? Same equipment, same stuff. In F1, it absolutely is. You are completely
the people that hold your contract.
Yeah,
are comparing you to your teammate.
And in that world, it is, because in F1, the best representation of how you are doing as a driver is if you're faster than your teammate, because you're in the same equipment. Otherwise, everyone's building different cars. You have no real other measuring stick that can give you a great visibility into how well you're doing as a driver. Yes, there's moments like a guy taking a, 5th place speed ranked F1 car and finishing higher than he would be in the points because he's made good decisions. But in true outright pace, your best indication of how well you're doing as a driver is against your teammate. So they're weirdly your teammate, but your number one competition at the same time. I don't think you have any other sport like that. I think it's the same in NASCAR. Then go one step further. If you are to move teams and not be teammates with that driver anymore, you're going to race against them every single time you're on the track, as long as you've both stayed in that series. So unlike you mentioned the football quarterbacks,
so there's so many opportunities for that tension to like bubble over.
And so 100%. And so if it's lingering, if there was a tension there as teammates, now there's no, and this was what I was trying to say, but I don't think I articulated it very well. Now there's nothing politically that you need to hold back from saying or letting be known or treating that person a certain way on the racetrack. And therefore it's no holds barred, free for all in terms
other than they probably work out together on Mondays.
Yeah. Or they
at the Chevy Tech Center.
They're, if their kids go to the same school and they got to see each other in the pickup line at Charlotte. I don't know. Or you see each other. What was Eric Almirola's quote about Ross Chastain? I'll see you at the Food Lion or something.
I don't remember.
Something like that.
I could see hockey and basketball having similar. I'm sure that there's some stories out there that we're just not thinking of from those two sports where two teammates got on the field or got on the court or got on the ice, that former teammates, and then, maybe I never liked that guy anyways type mentality, and that they had some tension boil over that ended up on the court. But like you said, they still don't they're only playing each other a few times a year, right? Where in NASCAR, they're playing each other every single week. Speaking of things you should do every single week,
what's that?
You need to check out SpoilerDiecast.com, which is the fastest growing diecast and racing merch company out there, and for good reason. Reason number one is they allow this show to be ad-free. That's right. What you're listening to right now is not an ad.
No,
it's not.
It's not.
It's not an ad. It's just part of the show. Because on YouTube, an ad is like when it does the whole thing where it cuts away from the show and then you got to click out of it, whatever. That's an ad. This is not an ad. I don't know. That's what I'm told. SpoilerDiecast.com ships same or next day, so your order is not sitting in limbo forever. They have a massive selection, over 2,000 products in stock, mostly NASCAR. They've got dirt, sprint cars, IndyCar, F1, a little bit of everything. And free shipping on orders over $20. So
if you use code MONEYLAP.
Use promo code MONEYLAP, whether you're hunting down a rare piece or just looking to rep your favorite driver, Parker Kligerman. Go to SpoilerDiecast.com. Use promo code MONEYLAP. Take advantage of the free shipping. And and thank them for the ad-free listening experience.
And we got a comment, by the way, from CKY Moto on YouTube. Thank you so much for having this ad-free. I can't stand YouTube shows getting broken up by YouTube ads. Thanks, SpoilerDiecast.
And I'm just going to keep saying that it's ad-free until we get an FCC violation that shuts us down.
It's ad-free except for this one, which isn't an ad, because we just love it so much that we wanted to let you know.
This is a sponsored partnership.
There you go. Yeah, it's a sponsor. We're used to that sort of thing in racing.
There you go.
It's a sponsorship. So thank you, Spoiler Diecast. Go check them out. They're awesome, and they're continuing to grow like crazy, and they've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the background. They're just getting bigger and bigger. So love those guys. Let's talk the O'Reilly series. So I thought this was interesting from this past weekend. Kyle Larson wins the O'Reilly series race in the 88 for Junior Motorsports. At high level, you hear that, you go, oh, well.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds about right, right? Well, here's the interesting part. He by far did not have the best car. He by far was not the fastest. And for most of that race, he ran barely in the top 10. So much so, in his post-race interview, he gets out and says, I was just an average mid-pack driver for most of this race. In which case I responded, you have never been an average mid-pack driver, considering he also, I think, average running position was something around 8th. So to him, running 8th is average mid-pack. I don't know about that.
Don't you always hate it when those guys also accidentally win races?
It was
like
I am a huge Kyle Larson fan, having raced against him from when he first came into the sport, into NASCAR. He and I actually qualified.
But I'm not rooting for him to win an O'Reilly race.
Well, hold on. But I was tied with him for the pole at Homestead in 2012. Like, he and I went to O'Reilly together that next year, finished like 3 points apart. Like, I felt like I was kind of like our careers were kind of the same time frame, right? And then he's gone on to become Kyle Larson. And I'm a huge fan because I've seen how much just better and better he's gotten. But to your point, I was sitting there and I'm like, most of that race, I'm like, wow, he's actually human. Like, we're seeing this. And then sure enough, just messes around on a late race restart, goes to the high side when everyone gets jumbled up behind the guys who are on old tires, takes the lead, never looks back and wins. And I was like, that doesn't happen to us. That only happens to those guys who drop in some of the best equipment, still aren't running that well, which it's really hard that they have to jump in there and adjust to these cars, like Chase Briscoe, if you're watching on YouTube right now, who we're on board with, who did an excellent job, even hitting the wall and everything, to come back and have a top 5 finish. But it's like you can, for every reason, they just find a way. And he found a way to win, which was
that's why those guys are champions, though.
I know. It was frustrating, Landon. Frustrating. Like, I've seen it. I've raced against it too. When you get done with one of those races, say you've had like a top 10 day, and you're like, man, I wish we could have been better. And whatever, and you look up and you're like, who won? And it's the Cup guy, and you're like, man, and your team's like, yeah, he shouldn't even won it. He ran like 7th all day. They just nailed them all in a late race restart. The pit crew got him out first in the final stop, and he never looked back. And it's just like, what? Damn it.
Yep.
So, one other interesting point from the O'Reilly race was Sheldon Creed. This was pretty egregious. So, pretty tense battle at the front. I can't remember exactly where this was, Josh. Where was this in the race? Do you remember? Was this stage 3?
I believe it was stage 3, and I believe it was the caution that led to the restart.
That's right. It was. Yeah, so this is midway through stage 3-ish, and we got a 3-way battle for the lead between Corey Day, who did an excellent job, by the way. Just an exceptional job this past weekend. He actually outran Larson the whole time, and was pretty cool to see. And that guy's, adjustment to this stock car racing. But it's between him, Taylor Gray, Sheldon Creed, Justin Allgaier's joining up, and Sheldon gets this big run off of 2. Taylor Gray blocks with like 50 to go, and he just nails him in the rear bumper and wrecks him. And Sheldon came on the radio immediately and said, if you block too many times, you suffer the consequences. I said on the broadcast, I thought, he's going to regret that when he sees that back. And sure enough, Sheldon, in his post-race interview, said, I probably shouldn't have done that. And felt, I think, a bit of remorse because, one, that's going to haunt you, right? That's going to come back when Taylor Gray has the opportunity, especially in this way this points format is. These races really matter, the points you can get. And 2, it just was an unnecessary move. I don't think Taylor did anything unusual, especially at that place where
run it back again, Josh.
We can run it back one more time. You'll throw blocks down the backstretch all the time to cover the inside because the inside is so valuable there. You really only have 2 options, which is getting to the white line or committing to the wall. That middle can work occasionally, but it needs all the right circumstances to come together. It's kind of no man's land often. I don't think any of this was egregious, and I also think when you look at it, Taylor had a little bit of a run on the 17. Could have made an argument I was trying to go below the 17. So I
mean, Double Zero had a bigger run on him, though. So
yeah,
I don't know. It just looked like racing. I don't even think what
he hit him.
Zero did was, well, the 00 came off of the white line. He ran him up the track.
I think that's too much. It's one thing to get a guy loose, but you hit him at 100. Their mid corner speed's 170 miles an hour right there. Like, what do you expect is going to happen?
Well, if you play it again, Josh. Sorry for the audio listeners. My my smoking gun on this, on Sheldon doing the wrong thing, is right here. The fact that he came up the racetrack. He could have. He had enough leverage on the 54. He could have gotten him loose, even hit him, but then still rip the white line on his part.
Yeah, and the 54 maybe doesn't go around.
Yeah, but here it's like he hit him, but then continued to follow him up the racetrack, which just further sucked more air off the 54 after he hit him.
Good point. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little, but I don't even think that hitting him was that egregious.
I think it's a little egregious.
I think he just ran up the track there, which is like, well, why'd you run up the track? Pass him. You know what I mean? You have leverage. You already hit him. Like, why'd you have to run? Why'd you have to follow him up the track?
I mean, he lays in his bumper there for a second.
Right. Well, that just tells you how hard he hit him. So.
Yeah.
And when do they go to Martinsville?
We'll go to Darlington next. What's Martinsville? We 2 races away, Josh?
Well, let's check the schedule.
This is always where people must listen to this and think, how does this guy do the TV broadcast? But what you must know is that I literally tune out a lot of the racing stuff for about
until it's time to prep for the next race.
Until it's time to prep for the next one, which starts tomorrow on basically Wednesdays. And so, yeah, this
is one heck of a race name, by the way. The Sports Clips Haircuts VFW Help a Hero 200.
Yeah,
that's this weekend.
Yeah, that's this weekend.
Darlington.
I'm looking forward to that.
Then you have the NFPA 250 the following for Martinsville.
So yeah, we're 2 weeks away.
I love NFPA on my sandwich. Always.
It's good. Yeah. A little mustard, a little mayo, a little NFPA. So that is the best. Love that. Well, we'll see if that comes back to haunt him in any way. And speaking of Darlington, before we move on to the open wheel world, we were talking about it last week a little bit, but it sounds like, or no, we didn't get to talk about this, did we? Where Denny put out there that it could be insane fall off, 4 seconds of fall off because they had the no diffuser plus the 750 horsepower at Darlington. So that should be a correction. Last week we said it was only short tracks and road courses. It's also Darlington.
When do we start caring about points positions, by the way?
Well, we did last week. We're 5 in. I would say seriously, caring, we're 3 away. So that's 8 races. That gets us to where will we be at? What's race 8? What's race 9?
Race 9.
I'll tell you right now.
We're just gonna do it live.
How close we get to May is really the biggest thing.
Kansas.
Yeah. So, and what's after that?
Talladega, then Texas,
and then the Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're still early. I mean, what did I talk about? Was it last week or the week before when we were talking about SVG being in the top 5 in points and everybody's making a big deal about it? And I was like, yeah, just watch.
He dropped 11 positions in one race.
Top 16 spots are all within 15 points of each other last week.
No, that was brutal. Yeah. Pretty
but Denny jumped 8. That's kind of a big jump.
Well,
right there.
And honestly, the guys that are really, those teams that really actually have a feel for what's going on and understand where they need to be, they're not looking at what position they are in points right now. They're thinking about their points per race.
Yeah, good point.
Right? That's how they're calculating it in their heads. We all look at the standings as fans and they put it on the broadcast. We go, oh, you're 4th in points. That's not what matters. What matters is points per race. Those engineers and those teams, they have already mapped out how many points they will need to accumulate by the 26th race of the season. And they know points per race if they're on track or off track.
I think personally, the old trope that we used to say, which is by Memorial Day weekend, everything's kind of set. And I do think it holds true. There's a little bit to be discovered with the win bonus that we have now. That massive, 25 points or something to win.
thought it was 15, but I'll double
15
check
maybe. Whatever it comes out to be. It's large. I thought it was 20, 25.
It very well could be. I'll figure
We should
it
probably
out.
know that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not a motorsports show.
We're the go-to source for the most in-depth information. Nonetheless, my reason behind that is I think that we're still in a mode of discovery a little bit, of understanding exactly what the ramifications of that could be in terms of how quickly you could make a comeback or what that allows you to do and how much of a swing we can see. But I still think by the time you get to mid-May to Memorial Day weekend, if you're in trouble, you're in big trouble, because things don't move a ton from that point on. There's not a ton of movement in terms of car speed potentially. There's just things become stagnant. That midsummer grind, all those things compound that I think by that point you've really got to, be on the right side of it. Or if not, you're in trouble.
It's 20 points, but that's up 15 points from the previous year. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah. So it's 20-point bonus. Yeah.
Yep.
So that I think that has an effect that we haven't fully conceptualized. And I know teams have run models and they've done their, Monte Carlo modeling, whatever, which is you run 20,000 simulations and try to understand exactly what you need to do and what the outcome is of different scenarios. But still, I think the common and the mental side and the human side of being in a hole come mid to end of May is still a big task. So let's talk open wheel, shall we?
Sure.
IndyCar, we mentioned at the top, they went to the Arlington GP around the Cowboys Stadium. Jerry Jones was on the pre-race, piping up, racing. He was so excited. It's pretty cool. Seemed like a decent crowd around there, but the track design was excellent. An absolutely insanely long straightaway that was insanely bumpy. I think it was like 0.9 of a mile or something. It was an insanely long straightaway. They were doing 180 plus miles an hour, 190 plus in the draft, because they were running a lot of downforce, some of the teams. So you couldn't quite get the higher speeds, but still pretty cool. I mentioned that the race came down to Kirkwood versus Palou. Kirkwood came out on top and even beat him on a late race restart that got stopped after just a couple corners. But Kirkwood continues his road course or street course domination, where he's won, what is it, Josh? 3 of the last 5?
It's something like that. It's enough that there is certainly a trend in
happening.
The betting odds there.
So, well, and Josh pointed this out. That's interesting about IndyCar right now, Landon. And that is, you have, if it's a natural road course, you all but can bet on Palou to be the fastest. If it's an oval, Newgarden. Although I think that's going to change to Christian Rasmussen here soon, who's been super fast in the ovals. And on the street courses is Kirkwood. It's almost like you have these couple drivers who are just showing to be
Specialties.
What's that?
Specialists.
Yeah, specialists. Exactly. I thought that was kind of interesting. So, did you catch any of the IndyCar Arlington stuff out there?
I watched a little bit of onboard and thought that IndyCar is kind of like developing this brand of these street courses that they've been running on, of how rough they are.
Yes.
And rugged. And I hope, I don't know if anybody else sees this or if IndyCar, if this is part of their strategy, but like that, to me, that's like becoming a IndyCar identity that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cool. It's just a little bit more rugged and tough. Makes them look tough.
It's a great point. And it's literally the antithesis to
F1.
Yeah. And so I just saw something that came out from Adam Stern where they're looking at going back to Denver, which CART went to in the early 2000s. There was a Denver Mile High Grand Prix that was pretty cool and an awesome track. So, and that one was rough. And if you look at that era of CART, IndyCar, there was a lot of street courses that were super rough and crazy and everything. And it's, to your point, really cool to see them kind of, maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's by accident, I don't know, lean into this a little bit and be like, you want to see open wheel cars being flying around and 4 tires off the ground and the drivers get beat up and have to deal with really rough and tumble conditions, watch IndyCar. I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
it
Super cool.
makes me think of like I feel like there could be an ad where it's just like kids racing go-karts on the streets. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then it's IndyCar race on the streets of Nashville and Dallas and St. Pete and all these places where it's just rough and not meant to be a racetrack at all.
But that's what makes it great.
But that's what makes it great.
And in F1, there's like a single ripple bump, and they're like, okay, repave it like at Coda. You got to repave it. It. It's too bumpy.
Didn't Marcus Ericsson literally go flying and then won the race?
That was Nashville. He went up, he hopped over someone else's car, knocked off the front spoiler or the wing, and then came back to win. Yeah. IndyCar, rough and tumble. Who'd have thought? It's very cool. Very cool. So congrats to them on a great event. That was super cool to see. And I hope they continue doing more things like that. Like Denver sounds like they might be happening. And I also, the old stock car guy in me watched that and thought, damn, that'd be a cool track for NASCAR to go to as well. So maybe, we did the doubleheader at Phoenix. We've done the doubleheader at Indianapolis, where IndyCar is always kind of the second fiddle, right? And NASCAR's the headliner. When are we going to end up at one of these street courses with IndyCar being the last race on Sunday? Will it happen?
Long Beach, baby. I want to see Long Beach.
But does it have to be long? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Southern California. We need it. So, I don't know. We'll see. Let's talk Formula One. Landon.
What is there to talk about?
That energy management is anti-motorsport.
Was it a bittersweet for Lewis Hamilton to stand on the podium with his 19-year-old replacement?
No, he was very gracious. I saw his comments.
Okay.
He was very gracious and said, hey, this is cool. And, he took my ride, and it's super cool to see him do what he's doing. And he was super pumped about Ferrari and, being faster and getting his first podium that he'll keep because they didn't take it away from him. And he has been, obviously very competitive. And I think he can see that with a bit of development, they have a chance at this championship.
Oof.
But hold on. Before we get into that, there was a story in qualifying that I just have to put out there because it made my blood boil. So I wrote that whole thing about why I have such a big problem with these regulations, what's happening with this energy management and all this stuff. And then there was a story that basically summed it up. And it was told about Leclerc in sprint qualifying where there's a section from turn 7 to 8 where he chose to hustle the car, right? When we think qualifying and when you've been a race car driver, road course, and you're like, all right, I'm going to extract all the speed out of this thing. It's like, I got to hustle it. I got to make it move. I got to wiggle. I got to deal with it, dance to the car, do all those things, brake as late as possible, roll my mid-corner speed, get back to the throttle, do everything perfectly, and the car's going to move around, and it's called hustle. He hustled the car, and in doing so was up like 0.2 through that section. But because he hustled it, he then didn't have as much energy down the straightaway where he gave up like 0.4. And therefore had a slower qualifying lap. And they were talking about how
we've reached a point where the tire is no longer the limiting factor of speed.
Yes. Right.
Oh, that's so brutal.
It makes your blood boil because you're sitting there and you're like, so you're telling me that at the highest level of motorsport, which means driving fast cars, you in a qualifying scenario where you're supposed to extract the maximum performance out of the car should be telling yourself, no. Don't go too fast in this section. You want to be fast down the straightaway. Don't drive too hard. You might not be as fast. Don't try to get more speed through the corner. That's only going to give up your straightaway speed. Like, what are we doing? Yikes. That's all I got to say.
We're not going to talk about this for a third week, are we?
No, we're moving
okay,
on.
I just want to make sure.
Are you talking about how many
races
races do they have? We're going to talk about it 19 times.
Yeah, 22. So we had
a couple. They had a couple good.
We have 20 more to get through.
I'm proud of you guys for not talking
the worst
about
part is
this week, though.
For some reason, I've been very into F1 again this year. and maybe it's a little bit
Jokes
obviously,
on you.
yeah, the competitiveness. And I keep getting duped. It feels like I'm being duped because I turn it on. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be different. And then I watch this thing and I'm like, wait a second, I got duped. What are you guys doing? I think it's such a big issue. I've seen more feedback from and sort of rumors that they're going to allow more of the internal combustion engine to be utilized, and they're starting to tweak this because it's such a disaster. So we'll see. Not as big a disaster as McLaren, which had a double did not start for the Grand Prix at China. Couldn't get their car started. Zach Brown had a nice joke on the pre-race for IndyCar where they said, good luck today. He said, well, as long as we get the car started, we're ahead of where we were in F1. So part of the regulations, learning it. Oscar Piastri has not turned a single lap at racing in the Grand Prix, now 2 races in. So their defense of the championship is not looking likely. And to put that in perspective, Aston Martin has completed more laps than McLaren in this first 2 races of the year, when Fernando Alonso was saying that, and if you watch his hands on the onboards, he's having to take his hands off the wheel from the vibration and like stretch them down the straightaways. So next race, you guys all get a break from me talking about this for a week, because the next race is in Suzuka, Japan in 2 weeks. So also, it was announced that the Bahrain and Saudi Arabia GP will not take place in April. MotoGP's Qatar GP has been postponed to November. And on their site, what does it say for the F1, Josh?
It says called off.
For
the GP image. So that's interesting.
So basically, they are not saying they won't come back. They're leaving maybe the door open, but obviously with everything happening in the Middle East right now and the war in Iran, they have had to postpone those or eventually cancel them. So
WEC also moved the Qatar round, which was their opener, to October as well. So
got
there
it.
you go.
All right. Well, should we do some picks for the upcoming races?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Who you got for Darlington in Cup?
I was gonna go with Hamlin, but I think I'm gonna pick Briscoe.
Briscoe.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to, unfortunately, you have to pick from a speed perspective what we saw this weekend, a Joe Gibbs car or a Hendrick car. But with that, if there's really this crazy fall off, who's really good at that? Who's really great at conserving? Is good at Darlington, pretty motivated, showed fair speed this past weekend. I'm going Brad Keselowski.
Interesting.
Yep. Who are you taking, Josh?
Oh man, my mind says Kyle Larson, but I feel like just something is gonna scream if I don't do this. I feel like Eric Jones,
Wow.
who has historically done fairly well here, and I believe he's racing the King's scheme himself. So
Whoa.
I'm gonna take Eric Jones in the STP inspired 43.
Interesting.
He's won here before, has he not? In the Southern 500? Am I insane?
No, he has.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all
he's
right.
twice. He's won it twice.
Okay, all right. Suddenly I started doubting myself halfway through that,
All right, so
proclamation.
For O'Reilly, I believe it was Bowman that was supposed to be in the 88 this weekend, but it sounds like it would be Larson, obviously, if Bowman's still out. And so you could pick Larson, but you also have, he was not announced, but we all know it, in the 19 is going to be Christopher Bell. So
Larson versus Bell.
Yeah, who you picking?
I'm gonna go
Larson got a race ahead of him by getting to race Vegas if Larson's in it.
I'm gonna go with Larson.
We don't know if he's in it, but yeah, you can have that. If it doesn't, we'll pick someone else. If Larson's in it, well,
he's
you know
listed on the entry list for Bell, by the way.
What's that?
Bell is listed on the entry list, so he's like official.
Yeah, they just weren't announcing it over the week, but everyone knew. So
Okay.
I'm taking Bell.
All right, you're gonna take Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of great options to choose from here. I don't know, man. I'm feeling like mixing it up again. I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain. I don't know why.
Is he in the 32?
He's in the 9.
9. Oh, he's a good one.
It's a good pick.
That's a good pick. All right, Landon. Name a Truck Series driver.
Isn't Casey Kane running in this race?
Oh, is he in the Ram?
I don't know. Why did I just randomly think that he was racing?
Did you get downforted again?
Definitely is not in this race according to the entry list from today. But hey, man,
Is Hocevar in this one?
keep dreaming. Let's see. Is Hocevar?
All right,
yes,
granted finger then.
he is.
I'm taking Hocevar.
All right.
Is he driving a Spire truck?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who did you take, Landon?
Grand end finger.
We got to count up how many times he's picked Grant because he's the only Truck Series driver he can name.
I am surprised neither one of you guys are choosing your boy Corey LaJoy.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can have him.
I'm gonna be taking Christopher Bell.
Is wow. C Bell's running the truck race?
He's in the 62 Stuart Friesen, Hallmark Friesen racing machine.
That's cool.
Yeah, all these guys, when they open up the rules, are running way more races. So
so the notable entries are obviously Christopher Bell. You have Brendan Queen. He's running every race.
yeah, he
this
is.
year.
It's
Okay, all right. Justin Haley is in the Ram, the 16
Yep.
Ram.
It's full time.
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah,
really?
welcome to the series. Welcome to 2026, guys.
I genuinely thought
I knew
Justin
that.
Haley was a Cup Series driver.
I knew
still.
that. I'm just
Jesus,
I
Josh.
just think it's Grand Fingers year.
Josh goes to Disneyland for one weekend and just literally forgets what year it is. See, that's why I don't go to Disney World or Disneyland. It's a time-space continuum.
Dude, I almost died. 28 and a half miles in 3 days.
I've still never
No
been
water.
to them, and I never want to go. But anyway,
It's a neat place. You should go. I'll take you. You and me. We'll go. I'm gonna throw you on the Radiator Springs Racers. You could be Lightning McQueen for a day.
Shannon has always wanted me to go, and I refuse. Let's talk some comments. We had some on Spotify. Noah Larson said, Landon's tenacity to keep pushing for more horsepower after NASCAR already upped it is like Andy Dufresne's continuously writing to the state about getting funding for the prison library. Get busy living or get busy driving. I don't know. I get a reference, but I'll leave that to you.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah. He put some thought in that. We appreciate it, Noah. Also, Christopher Bell agreed with you. His comments this past weekend about the horsepower were, yeah, it's a good start. Now get some more. So
It's a good start.
I think everyone felt the same way. Wes Hurd Jr. said, by the end of the season at Trackhouse, SVG will be number 1, Connor will be second, and Ross will be third. Not a knock on Ross, but more of a compliment to SVG and Connor. Wild how much Trackhouse has changed. Don't know if I agree with that. Especially
the results from last week would disagree with that at least.
Connor's having his sophomore slumpish welcome to Cup moments. I think he'll obviously power through and be just fine. But I think it's a lot of adjustment happening there. And, that will take a minute. He's young, super young. And Mr. and Mrs. Hazard said S. Ward. That's Shannon's initials, but I know what they're saying 'cause the way I said Sword.
Interesting. Do you think it had anything to do with Shannon?
It must be. It was something in my what is that called? Or it's in my
I don't know, but just sword. Gosh, that's so stupid. That was the dumbest thing.
You guys just don't get it. You don't understand it. You don't know how to say it. You guys say it wrong. On YouTube, temp free trial account F4. What a name, by the way. Parker, you've been crushing on CW. The entire broadcast is great, but you're really living up to me saying you're the new Wally Dallenbach. I don't know. Maybe exceeding him in the booth. Honestly, appreciate that, bud. I did some TV with Wally one time. He was interesting. He had a guy in the studio who brought him a cup full of. I'm not going to tell you what was in that cup, but he always liked a little courage for a show.
There you go.
Zach R 1896. Landon ain't a believer, but Parker is starting to believe. SVG is one of our all-time great champions in supercars. Okay, so this person's from Australia / New Zealand, by the way. And I have no doubt he'll contend for a championship eventually if his physical side holds up. Some guys just have it, and if you say Jeff Gordon came to supercars mid-career, I think he would have picked it up quick and contended for championships too. Not enough is said about how little practice he gets and is just expected to compete with the big boys straight off the bat.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I mean,
They need to bring back full weekends.
I feel like if we rewind the clock to SVG's first race at Chicago, I think I picked him to win. And I'm just saying I've been a believer since the beginning.
Wow.
Good for you,
all
Josh.
all
Way
you
to go.
Australia fans,
I'm just
I get you. I get you.
Noah of Babylon
what a
says,
claim. What a
Yeah.
claim on Josh. You know what? If I rewind back to last year, I think I actually picked Kyle Larson to beat Denny Hamlin for the championship in the final restart after.
Yeah,
a pit
and if I
road.
rewind it
I
back,
remember
last
that.
year,
I think
my
I think
Powerball
I actually
numbers-
remember calling that.
my Powerball numbers were the
Yeah.
numbers that won the $1 billion, and actually,
Yeah, that's right. I
yeah,
remember
that's
that.
right. If I
Nobody
just
will
picked
fact
those,
check me on that.
I'm glad to see
Yeah.
you guys are coming around to SVG though.
Pretty
It's
defensible.
really exciting. Welcome to the fun side of the history.
Noah of Babylon says it's good to hear that you've doubled from one listener, Denny Hamlin, to 2 with Jeff Gluck. That is
We're
great.
growing.
We're massive. At this rate, you'll have 4 listeners whenever your partners decide to start listening. In that case, we'll be stuck at 2 forever.
Yeah.
And Eric Elston 7670 says, "Thank you for these high IQ discussions." Not sure what he's been listening to, but
You're welcome.
apparently we have high IQ. We have
take
not
the
gotten
compliment.
new Apple reviews. I'd just like to put it out there. If you're a listener or a viewer on YouTube and you like what we're doing, please leave us a new Apple review. 5 stars get on this show. We'd love to put them out there. So, being
What-
that it's Monday, what?
We're at 243 5-star reviews on Apple. Landon, what are you going to do when we hit 250?
We'll record another show.
Wow. Thanks.
We're never going to get to 250. Boys.
You know what might get us there, though, is our guest today. It's time. He had a horrific day in Vegas. Was way off the pace. But I think this could be the moment, guys, that gets us there. Let's bring him on. Landon, you ready? Do you know who it is?
SVG.
No. Don't. What? This guy's a champion. 2-time champion of the NASCAR Cup Series. None other than Kyle Busch here on the Money Lap. Let's go, buddy. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. We've been trying to get you on here, as you know, and it's kept breaking and kept falling apart. Stupid things have been happening. But today, on Monday, March 16th, 2026, we know the year of the Lord is happening right now. Buddy, thank you for coming on.
I think they just ditched me. So- I think Josh and Parker are both disconnected.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Money Lap. If you like this show, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Share it with friends. We want to spread the word of great motorsports shows, of which we're somewhere up and around there. I'm not exactly sure where, but nonetheless, you can also reach out to us anytime on across social media or at our website, themoneylap.com, or at our email, friends@themoneylap.com. And of course, you can always leave us a review. 5 stars gets you on this very show. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Goodbye.